Check, check. Hello. Oh, a little early here. Hello. Welcome back, Critical Chris fan. I am kind of jumping the gun here. I'm very early. I wasn't supposed to start for another half hour. I was actually going to start at 8 o'clock. But there's some breaking news out of Toronto right now. So I figured I'd jump on. A lot of Critical Chris fans out there, apparently. Okay. We're gonna jump there right now. So I was doing my research for my normal live stream. Well, who copied you, but who are you? Yeah, so I was doing my research and this just popped up, and I'm getting sources from all over the place that there was an explosion in Toronto today. Don't know what caused it, who's responsible or anything like that. I mean, it could have just been incidental, but it's pretty heavy. So I'm just going to discover stuff with you guys. Let's see what's going on here. As you can hear, there's some very loud explosive noise accompanied with the roof on fire. And this is a massive, massive fire. It looks like it's downtown Toronto. I don't know exactly where. Let me look it up. Downtown Toronto building, firefighters investigating. These explosions. Well, it's downtown. The airport's in Mississauga, so it's quite a ways away. But who knows? This could affect travel, depending on what the source is and what caused this. I mean, if it's just a fire that caused an explosion, could be. Oh, I have some more footage here. Some better chopper footage, actually. Let me just switch out. Overhead footage here. I can't tell what time. It looks like it's a residential building. I mean, it could be meth labs. Not yet. I'm looking. I'm trying to find... Oh, Richmond Street West and John Street, according to CBC. Cynthia asked what street name. So, CBC says that the fire is in the area of Richmond Street West and John Street at a building under construction. Oh, so it might be a propane fire. Okay, let's... Here, we'll switch out of here. Let's see what we got. Moving over to CBC News article. Okay, firefighters have extinguished a fire on the roof. Okay, so extinguished a fire on the roof building in downtown Toronto that's believed to have caused an explosion on Friday evening. The fire was located on Richmond Street West near John Street at a building under construction, Toronto firefighters and police said. The fire resulted in ruptured propane cylinders, heavy flames, and thick smoke. Toronto Fire Services in a social media post on Friday, no one was injured. Crews protected the remaining cylinders and have extinguished... Okay, so it was a propane fire. It was not a meth lab, Dad. What does this have to do with politics? Nothing in particular. It was just something that was happening that was live in the moment, so I wanted to inform everyone about it. It's not just politics, it's news too. Sorry, Critical Chris Fan 2.0. We will get to politics. Like I said, I started my show early to cover this. I did have a segment I was working on. Yeah, world news. I had a segment I was working on, and I wasn't quite ready for it to start, but I jumped on early, so it might be a little more chaotic. So Critical Chris fan 2, is that Gabe? Sorry, let me just turn off moderation. Ooh, timestamps. We like that. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we figured out the source of that. It sounds like it's already out. So that's good. Out and contained. TFS said that the two alarm fire ruptured up to 3 propane cylinders that were on the roof. What started the fire, though? Earth-shattering bangs, according to locals. Okay. That's true. Good point, Cynthia. Cynthia says someone who knows him since response wasn't who's Gabe. Laugh out loud. Yeah, breaking news. Well, breaking news is over. Now we can get to the regular. I mean, I will keep an eye on this just to see if more info comes up as time goes on, but yeah, it seems like X is reporting the same thing. No, I didn't think it was near quarry. Yeah, fire is hot and ice is cold. All right. Shall we get on to the normal stuff, or do we want to pause the stream for a little bit and come back at 8? I guess everyone's already here, so I might as well get going. Yeah. Okay, yeah. To carry on from last time, just so you guys know, my fiance is in the background cooking, so if it's loud, I apologize. Like I said, I started early, so. Just like last time, you guys can engage with each other as much as you want. The more you chat, the better. Make sure to like and subscribe. Give me feedback as I go along. I've added a new segment to the chat, or not to the chat, to the live stream. In order to hold myself accountable, I'm going to try and track what I call our amendments to info that I've provided in the past that has been deemed incorrect or misinformed. Even if it's something that I'm not declaring, something that I might be insinuating or guessing, I still would like to hold myself accountable, and I'd like you guys to do so too. So here's what's going to happen is I'm going to review my videos from time to time. It's a lot of work, but I'm going to try and find anything that I said that was wrong or misleading or that I wasn't 100% sure about. I still have some, thank you. And then I'm going to post those amendments on my website and then also cover them on the following video, on the following live stream, I should say, because I'm actually going to start doing actual recorded videos as well that cover news in more detail. Politics, news, updates, things like that. Because I find that with these live streams, it's kind of hectic. I get off work at 4:30 and then I start streaming at 7. I have to get my setup going, my physical setup, and then I got to start researching. And I have about 2 hours to try and get everything organized and ready to go. So I don't get to cover things as much as I'd like to in detail. And I also don't get to cover as many topics as I'd like to, because I find that by the last 20 minutes, I'm rushing like crazy. So, yeah, I'm going to do some recorded stuff. But anyways, so we will start this segment with content amendments. And this one's kind of funny because I designed the amendments to simulate the Canadian Parliament bill system. Paul says, I heard the economy is doing better now than it has in the last 10 years. I think you heard wrong. But we can touch on that another time. Maybe I'll have to amend my statement here. Anyways, I'm supposed to be ignoring you, so I'm going to do that. All right. So, amendments for today. We will call this Bill C1. This is found on my website, which is not yet live, but I have access to it. And this is just an example as to what I will be doing in the future. An act to amend the Critical Chris on Politics question and answer, Episode 1 live stream. First reading, March 27, 2026. Sponsored by Critical Chris. Summary of this act. This enactment corrects certain statements and claims made by the host during the live stream episode Critical Chris on Podcast Q&A Episode 1 that have been determined to be inaccurate or misrepresented. The corrected episode is available on Critical Chris website at criticalchris.com. Side notes, it will be live shortly, but it's not quite live yet. It is also available on Critical Chris on Politics Q&A Episode 2 live stream March 27, 2026. That is happening right now. That is what I am currently doing. So if you're reading this amendment on my website in the future, thank you for reading it, and this is what you're reading. First session, first stream review. No crown, because I am not under the crown. 2026. Critical Chris accountability session. Hello, Brigitte. Ça va? Okay, so we're going over Bill C1, an act to amend Critical Chris on Politics. There's a lot of formal stuff, just like the regular bills, so we'll skip all that stuff. His content creator, by and with the advice and consent of the chat lobby, that's you guys, of the Critical Chris live stream, enacts as follows. Short title. This act may be cited as a Critical Chris blah, 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 blah. Let's skip it. All right, so first off, amendment to the episode transcript. The live stream episode Critical Chris on blah, 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 recorded on 2026 is amended as follows. The statement made at approximately 12:46 reading. I'm just going to play it for you guys. Here we go. Senators, I believe, are also MPs. Let me just double check that. I think that's the whole quote. Senators are members, let's see. Most senators, I believe, are MPs. Let me just double check that. Oh, they're not. It says it's not. But I'm going to look into that a bit more. I think Google's misunderstanding my question because I believe there are people. Oh, maybe not, maybe not. That's the quote. And I was wrong. So that is struck out and replaced with the following. This is the factual statement. Senators are not members of Parliament. According to the Senate of Canada website, sencanada.ca/senators, Canada's 105 senators are men and women of accomplished experience. They are business people and scientists, judges and teachers, athletes, community leaders, and senior civil servants who use their lifetime of expertise to ensure Parliament acts in the best interest of Canadians. Senators come from diverse ethnic, socioeconomic, and cultural backgrounds. They use the wisdom gleaned from their own experience to give minorities a strong voice in Parliament, free to speak their minds and act on their consciences. Senators play an essential role in Canada's parliamentary democracy. All right. Yes, I know I need a Jamie. Thank you. I've been told that many times. This is my third time. I'm doing this on top of work. I can't afford to pay myself, let alone a Jamie. Anyway, so that is the correction to the statement in the previous episode. And now let's move on to Section B. The statement made at approximately 13:26 reading. Let's see. They're selected by the Prime Minister. Currently, I think most were selected by Trudeau. I don't think the Senate gets recreated during election because the Senate has nothing to do with elections. This is a big difference between the U.S. and Canada. All right, so that was mostly true. The statement currently, I think they were selected by Trudeau. I don't think the Senate gets recreated during an election because the Senate has nothing to do with elections. I just wanted to, I was saying something and I wasn't entirely sure, but I just wanted to clarify what it was that I was saying. And it's struck out and replaced with the following. All but 16 of the sitting senators were appointed on the advice of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The remaining senators include 2 appointed on the advice of Prime Minister Jean Chrétien and 14 appointed on the advice of Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Source for this is Sen Canada, same website. So this is the Senator of Canada website. In addition, the following accurate description of the Senate appointment process is inserted. Pursuant to sections 24 and 32 of the Constituent Act 1867, the power to summon qualified persons to the Senate is vested in the Governor General. By constitutional convention, the Governor General acts on the advice of the Prime Minister. Once appointed, senators serve until they reach the mandatory retirement age of 75 or resign. They are not subject to election. So that's what I wanted to clarify, is that so... And I was right about the fact that the Governor General is mainly a symbolic position. The Prime Minister essentially appoints senators, although Justin Trudeau has recently changed that as of 2016. It's not a legally binding change. It was a change that he just decided to make upon being elected as Prime Minister. We'll get into that in another video because I don't want to spend too much time on this. But once they are appointed, they remain as senators until they turn 75. And of the there's 105, less 8 who are currently empty. There were, what did I say there was? There's 14 who were appointed by Stephen Harper and 2 who were appointed by Jean Chrétien. The rest were appointed... So all but 16 out of 105 were appointed by Justin Trudeau. Just a little bit of information for you guys there. All right. We're done with that section. Which one is it? Is it chat time? Nope. Nope. This one? That one. There we go. Okay. Now I can pay attention to you guys. How's everyone doing in there? We're done with the amendment section, so... Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? I'm talking to you guys now. Thanks. I try. I'm going to put the chat up here so you guys can see yourselves. There we go. Critical Chris fan. Good. Way to be accountable. Paul says, way to be accountable. Thank you. I try. I hope to be. So that's what I'm looking from you guys as well. Anytime I say something that you guys think is incorrect or false or whatever, throw it up in the chat and I will make note of it and I will do further research and then I will either confirm what I said or I will make an amendment on my website / future videos. So I need that accountability. But that is exempt when I'm expressing my opinion, because there will be sections when I'm talking to the chat that is purely opinion. So I'm not going to be amending any of that stuff. Although if it turns out that my opinion is wrong, then yeah, I guess I'll be amending that as well. But this is primarily for the information segments of the video. Because if I say something like I don't like black tea, and someone tries to correct that, then there's no point in wasting time on that. Chat's kind of quiet today. I guess that's because there's only 2 of you. Who's all here? One's in the chat. No. Paul says no racism. I meant the drink, not... Okay, so who's Critical Chris Fan 2.0? Paul Sidley. I guess Critical Chris Fan 1.0 is not that big of a fan because he's not here. Well, it's just the 2 of you. Okay, we'll move on from chat time then. It was a very sudden jump into the live, so. All right. Let's move on to the next section, shall we? All right, we're going to briefly cover so we went over the amendments. Now we're going to start with the Parliamentary Playbook. Lovely. And we're going to cover some bills that were covered the other day just because they were actually defeated in Parliament. And I know that Paul's going to have a reaction to that especially. So let's start with Bill C-246. I don't know. Everyone left. They got bored, I guess. So Bill C-246. You may remember this one as the sexual offenses bill. So right now when someone is convicted of multiple sexual offenses, like several counts of sexual assault, I'm just reiterating what I said the other day, a judge can decide to make the prison sentences run at the same time concurrently. That means the person serves the longest single sentence and the others overlap, often resulting in a shorter overall time in prison. That bill was defeated as of, I think it was defeated the day that I actually talked about it. It was just defeated later, it was Wednesday, March 25th that it was defeated. So if we take a look here. So it had reached its second reading. I had thought that there was not too much in the way of controversy in that bill. I thought that one would actually pass, so I was quite shocked to find out that it was defeated. We'll take a look at the voting pattern here. How anyone could I mean, the bill was written very simply too. It was very straightforward. What was it? One paragraph. It's not like it was convoluted, long, and confusing or anything like that, or it used some sort of crazy language. It was very simply laid out, and yeah, I'm shocked that this one was defeated after the second reading. So 157 people voted yes, 169 people voted no, and 10 paired votes. So what a paired vote is a person from one party on one side of the aisle and a person from another party, not on the other side of the aisle, sorry. So one person who's going to vote yes and one person who's going to vote no, they agree to not vote and cancel each other's votes out so they don't have to go onto the floor and make the vote that day. Whatever reasoning they have, I personally think that being on the floor and being present for votes is probably the most important part of their job. But this happens all the time. They utilize each other so that they don't have to show up for voting. If we go by political affiliation, so we have 0 liberals voted yay. Shocker. 135 conservatives voted yay. Considering it was a conservative bill, I'm not surprised. The Bloc Québécois supported this bill. The NDP did not, and the single Green Party MP, Elizabeth May, I believe, yep, she voted nay as well. Crazy to me that someone like Elizabeth May would vote no to that. Chat time. Let's see what the chat has to think about that. Dad, what are your thoughts? Pretty wild, huh? It's still just the three of you, whoever the third person is. All right. No one's chatting, so I guess we'll move on to the next section. All right. Okay. So let's move on to Bill C-220. You know, I'm gonna stream through these pretty quickly. I'm gonna try and get these done too, because we're just rehashing stuff that we talked about. So basically, all of the conservative bills were struck down. Bill C-220. It's the one where the judges sentence someone who's not a Canadian citizen. They can sometimes consider how the punishment, like prison time, can affect the person's immigration status, so they can offer them a lighter sentence. The bill would have changed that and made it so that you cannot base your sentence on any sort of status of the person. It has to be based on the crime itself. Also a very simply worded bill. 1 to 2 sentences, I believe. Let's move on to number 2 here. We're just going to quickly check the votes on this. Let's take a look-see. Okay, 158 voted yay. 171 voted nay. 10 paired votes again. Political affiliation, shocker, 0 liberals voted yes. 136 voted yes for conservative, and 22 voted yes for the Bloc, NDP voted no. Green Party voted no. I wonder if these bills are partisan or not. I wonder if our parliament's partisan or not. When you're voting no to these kind of bills, it makes you wonder. All right, 243. That's the next bill. This is the bill on first degree and second degree murder, where you can apply for day parole or full parole after serving a certain minimum portion of your sentence, usually after 25 years. This is the one where you can currently reapply every year, and the victims' families and stuff have to prepare for hearings and stuff like that. The bill would be amended so that it's only every 5 years. This one was struck down. And what I mean by struck down or defeated, it means the bill's going nowhere and it's not being turned into law, so it's not going to happen. Yay, 136. Nay, 192. 10 paired again. Political affiliation. A little bit different this time. Only the Conservatives voted yay. No other parties voted yay. Again, I'm not sure why anyone would vote against this. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Onward to Bill 242, C-242. This is a little bit more controversial. I personally don't think it's controversial, but in the eyes of some it is. Canada's bail system. This is when the system decides whether someone is charged with a crime is released while awaiting trial or kept in custody. These changes were made through Bill C-75 and others, and it added a principle of restraint, which encourages judges to release accused people whenever possible. We talked about this the other day. The bill would change that so that it replaces principle of restraint with a stronger focus on public protection and safety. It's basically the Jail Not Bail Act that the Conservatives have been talking about for months and months. And it's the one where they basically want to keep people who are repeat offenders in prison instead of out on parole to commit more crimes. This one was struck down. This one I'm not as shocked about because it's a little bit more heavy than the other ones. I agree with the bill, but Parliament obviously didn't. So we had 136 yay, 193 nay, 10 paired. And again, only the Conservatives voted yay. The Bloc didn't, NDP didn't, Green didn't, and Liberals didn't. So yeah. One bill that did get pushed through to the next reading was Bill C-9. We talked about Bill C-9 as well. This is the hate crimes one. This is one that is censoring hate speech, expanding hate propaganda offenses, hate crime provisions, other adjustments. The one that could be argued that is hard on free speech, limits religious expression, and overly restrict protest and dissent. Yeah. Supporters say that it's needed to combat real increases in hate crime and keep people safe at places of worship. The people who are against it believe it does the complete opposite. So last we checked, I believe it was at the third reading. It was actually at the report stage prior to the third reading. And rather than being struck down and defeated like the other bills, it was pushed through to the Senate. So yeah, so they proposed to begin second reading in 2 days' time. Oh yeah, this one's interesting. So it went to the Senate on the same day, the next day, sorry. So the third reading was completed on March 25th. It went to the Senate the next day. They proposed that they would begin the second reading, which is the second phase of the Senate portion of the approval process, in 2 days' time. But in reality, in government terms, that means mid-April. So 2 days is, they don't sit on the weekend, and they've now entered Easter recess, which is basically the entire Parliament takes a break for 2 weeks. They take a lot of breaks throughout the year. So yeah, the second reading probably won't commence until mid-April. But yeah, that one's pushing through rather swiftly, which is what the Liberals requested. So the Conservatives are granting them that request. What was I looking at here? I'm not sure. This is the Senate reading of the bill. See, this is what they talked about. So, the Speaker informed the Senate that a message has been received from the House of Commons, Bill 9, Act to amend the criminal code, blah 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 blah. They read the bill the first time. Honorable Senators, when shall this bill be read the second time? On a motion of Senator Moreau, bill placed on the orders of the day for second reading 2 days hence, which means in 2 days' time, but in reality is more like 3 weeks. Okay. Next bill that was touched on yesterday prior to the recess was Bill C-12. This one received royal assent. This one was sponsored by Minister of Public Safety Gary Anandasangari. I can never pronounce his name. Anandasangari. This is the guy that's pushing for the prohibition of guns. It received royal assent. It's an act respecting certain measures relating to the security of Canada's borders and integrity of the Canadian immigration system. There's a lot to this bill. It's very long. It's very convoluted. Conservatives criticize the bill's structure and scope, criticize it as a hodgepodge fix split from the more controversial Bill C-2. So earlier on, the Liberals had a much larger, convoluted bill. The Conservatives prevented it from going through, and so they split it into 2 separate bills, and one of those bills is now Bill C-12. But they argue that it still contains half measures on public safety, drug trafficking, and overall system of integrity. But they ultimately voted in favor of it, and it has now received royal assent, so it is now law. All right. Next is Bill C-8. Report and third reading. Sponsor of this bill, you guessed it, same person, Gary Anandasangari, Minister of Public Safety. The guy who doesn't know anything about guns. All right. So, this bill has received a lot of criticism. I'm getting some lag. Are you guys getting lag? Here, I'm going to quickly check the chat and see if you guys are getting lag. Oh, look at this. Clown World. Okay, we're going to do a little chat time, a little pause in chat time. So, Cynthia says she needs more info to have an opinion. Can you clarify what you mean on that one, Cynthia? You said it at 7:41 p.m. You need more info to have an opinion. Paul says, shocker, shocker. That's ridiculous. Yay to the bill. Clown World. Oh, Kat says, hi, honey. Dinner is ready whenever you're hungry. You're doing amazing. Thank you. I feel like it's more about saying no to your opposition than it is about whether the bill actually seems reasonable. I 100% agree with that. I know that she needs more info. I want to know what she's referring to when she said that. Let me guess. 136 Liberals, nay. 169. No, it's not 169 Conservatives, yay. It's, I think it's 136 Liberals, yay. And there's Green and Bloc and NDP. They're the opposition. So any party that's not part of the Liberals is the opposition. Oh, 196, my bad. Yeah. Clown World. Do these people have other jobs? Because there's no way paying them a living wage for them to be off 1/3 of the work year. Yeah, so their jobs are more expansive than just Parliament. Actually, we can quickly take a look at that little. Here, we'll switch this to parliamentary education time. So, let's bump this up. Put this over here. Before we get back to Bill C-8, and we'll switch this. So see here, you can see the House sitting calendar. Actually, I don't like this calendar. I like this one better. You can see a little bit clearer. I can zoom in. Can you see that? Here, I'll zoom out because my face is covering it. So, the green days are House sitting days. The black days are not. The blue triangles are parliamentary diplomacy events. These involve things like meeting with diplomats from outside of the country and having dinners and stuff like that. All that fun stuff that, they fly on planes, they go to meetings and events, and all on our dime. House publications. Those are the days where we have access to the debates, journals, and order paper. That's usually when Parliament sits. And committee meetings. So the MPs, a lot of MPs are also a part of committees, which represent the different departments that the government is made up of. So you have Canada's immigration system, CIMM, Citizenship and Immigration. So certain MPs are a part of this committee, and they represent the department of, I think it's IRCC, which is International Refugee. I can't remember what the CC stands for, but so they go over the budget for that department. They go over the bills for that department. They basically oversee that entire department. So yeah, they do have more than one job, but there are a lot of days where they don't. Like, I think they go the whole summer without working, like teachers, but they also get paid a lot more money than teachers. Let me guess, 136. Let's put the chat back up so you guys can see what I'm reading. We're on chat time. Okay. Do these people... Yeah, we just covered that. I mean, against conservatives, then liberals will all vote yay. Reverse psychology always works on children. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're talking about the one where the conservatives were against and then voted yay anyways. Or are you talking about something else there? Oh, we're down to one viewer. Who's here? Will it be really quickly? Well, I guess I'm done with the chat because there's no one here, so we'll continue on. Yeah, the Liberals will. The Liberals will vote no matter what. Yeah, it's just me and you, Dad. Me, you, and you, and you. Oh, and Critical Chris Fan 2.0. It says only one concurrent viewer. I guess it's not reporting live. Okay, cool. Thanks for being here. All right. So, Bill C-8. This is a highly, highly controversial bill. Where was I? Okay, so it's a government bill introduced in the House of Commons on June 18, 2025 by the Minister of Public Safety, Gary Anandansanagari. Its full title is An Act Respecting Cybersecurity, Amending the Telecommunications Act, Making Consequential Amendments to Other Acts. Before I continue on, I want to know if you guys can guess what this act is about. Yeah, Critical Chris Fan 2.0 is still here. Who can guess what this act is about? It's about cybersecurity, apparently, and it's from the Minister of Public Safety. Take a quick guess. This is the same guy that all of his bills have to do with restricting personal freedoms in the name of safety. So what do you think this one's about when it comes to cybersecurity? Okay, fine. I was trying to engage. No one wants to play. All right. It updates the Telecommunications Act to make security of Canada's phones, internet, and communication networks a clear national goal. This gives the government stronger powers to order telecom companies to fix or prevent cyber threats. It creates a new law called the Critical Cyber Systems Protection Act. This requires certain large organizations in vital sectors like banking, finance, energy, telecommunications, transport, and nuclear to build and maintain strong cybersecurity programs, report major cyber incidents quickly, and follow government rules to protect systems that keep essential services running. All right. They can designate which operators must follow these rules, and there are penalties for non-compliance. It is very similar to the earlier Bill C-26 from 2022, which died when the Parliament was prorogued. Opposition and concerns. Critics, including privacy advocates, civil liberties groups, such as the Canadian Civil Liberties Association and Citizens Lab, the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, and organizations like Open Media have raised significant issues. Key concerns include broad government powers with limited oversight. Ministers could issue sweeping orders to telecom providers, potentially including secret actions or disconnecting services, with what some call unchecked or loophole-ridden authority, and minimal transparency or accountability. Privacy risks. The bill could allow collection and sharing of sensitive data, subscriber info, metadata, location data, etc., without sufficient safeguards or judicial warrants, potentially violating charter rights to privacy. Threat to encryption and security. There is no strong prohibition preventing government orders from weakening or compromising end-to-end encryption in networks, which critics argue could actually make systems less secure overall and undermine cybersecurity rather than strengthen it. Yeah, there's a lot. Bureaucratic burden and overreach. Some view the requirements as overly onerous for operators, while others worry about potential impacts on freedom of expression or the risk of powers being used beyond pure cybersecurity. Though the government has stated it won't be used to remove people from the internet for their speech or conduct. They say that's not what it's for. You don't have to worry. They're not going to do that. Though they could do that, that's not what it's for. All right. Shall we take a look at... So this bill has reached its first reading in the Senate with planned second reading. So it's already passed in the House somehow. That despite the criticisms of the opposition. We could take a listen to what some of the opposition has to say about this. Let's take a listen.
Security and freedom can coexist. The government can both defend our telecommunications networks and protect the rights and freedoms of all Canadians. Bill C-8 may secure networks, but as it stands, it risks imprisoning citizens digitally and denying them fundamental justice. In so doing, it undermines the very freedoms that we seek to protect. Let us not mistake security for liberty. Let us not trade our rights of Canadians for a false sense of protection. Mr. Speaker, let me give you a concrete example of how Bill C-8 could affect an ordinary Canadian. Imagine Sarah, a citizen, frustrated with the government program that she believes was mismanaged and that was corrupt. In her frustration, she posts online, threatening to expose government corruption. She threatens to reveal secret information she has collected about the program. The government views her post as a threat to telecommunications system, and so quietly issues an order under Bill C-8. Her internet provider receives the direction to shut down her internet and phone services, all without a court warrant, and all without court order. The same provider is legally forbidden from disclosing that reasons why Sarah's internet was suspended. If the provider were to explain, they could face penalties and even jail. The next morning, Sarah is shocked to find that she cannot access her mail, her bank account, or work portal. Her social media accounts are frozen. She cannot contact her friends, family, and colleagues. She has been cut off entirely from the digital world, and she has no idea why. This is a system of double secrecy. The government order is hidden, and the provider is prohibited from telling her anything. Sarah cannot see the evidence against her. Sarah cannot ask questions, and she has no way of defending herself. She is effectively trapped in a digital prison, isolated, powerless, and silenced. Over the following days, the impact deepens. Sarah cannot pay her bills, participate in remote work, access healthcare portals, or communicate with anyone. Eventually, she finds out that the government is behind this, so she attempts to challenge the order, only to hear that any judicial review may involve secret evidence that she cannot see. The provider has the information, but under Bill C-8, they are not allowed to share it. Every attempt to assert her rights is blocked. She is not merely inconvenienced, she is entirely cut off with no meaningful recourse. Mr. Speaker, this scenario is conceivable and legal under Bill C-8 as it stands. It illustrates why BC-8 secrecy and non-disclosure provisions are so dangerous to individuals. You may say that this would never happen. The government no doubt will insist the intent of the bill is clear. But why should Canadians trust them? We must take the bill at face value. We must rely on what the text explicitly sets out in the law. Otherwise, the law intended to protect telecommunications infrastructure could easily be weaponized by any government against ordinary citizens.
All right. Oh. My internet's acting funky. I had another video ready to go, but it is gone. Oh, that's okay. You get the gist. There are several other people who were opposed to it, and there's videos of them opposing. But that's okay. This is the risk of doing a live stream. Okay. It's live stream time. Or chat time. I'm frozen. Oh, never mind. I pressed the wrong button. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. 1984. It's what's interesting to me is that you have Bill C-8, which is a cybersecurity bill. It's being touted as a bill that's about protection through protection from cybersecurity attacks through utilization with the big network providers. But in reality, it seems like it's about control, about access to our information, access to what we're saying, our metadata. That's the big one. That kind of information I don't think is currently legally available without a warrant. So it's the language that they're using is that they can access this information without a warrant. And then that in conjunction with Bill C-9, which is this is my personal opinion, by the way. This isn't information or anything. I'm just expressing what I think. Yeah, that'll change with the passing of this bill. Like I said, it's already in the Senate, so it's already passed the House. But in conjunction with Bill 9, which is the hate speech law, we're going down a very similar path, in my opinion, to what's happening in the UK, where you have thousands upon thousands of people being arrested for things that they post on Facebook and X and YouTube and stuff like that. Just simple, opinions, for posting their opinions. So we'll see if that actually ends up happening. I could be way off. And if it doesn't happen, then great. But yeah, I mean, it's not a stretch to believe that could happen, considering that our system is built off the UK's. Our entire parliamentary system is designed around the UK's. It's almost identical. And we see where they've gone. So, yeah, very interesting. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Who's all in the chat right now? It says there's 2 people, but last time it said there was 2 people. There was more. Dad, I know you're there. Cynthia, you still there, or did you leave? you are. Okay. Keep voting these. Here, let's expand the chat. I don't want to repeat everything that's said because I want to. There we go. Paul Sidley says it'll happen because idiots keep voting these tards in. Cynthia's here. Critical Chris fans here. Dad, what do I think? About? What do you think, Cynthia? Or did you mean to say, what do you think? Yeah, what's your opinion on the bill? Let's hear it. Not even necessarily just that bill alone. That bill in conjunction with the other bills. You have Bill C9, which is the hate speech bill, in conjunction with C8, which is the cybersecurity bill, in conjunction with, I'm drawing a blank right now, the gun prohibition. Actually, I don't think that's based on a current bill. That's based on several previous bills, but they're enacting it currently because it's already been made law. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, the problem with Bill C8 in particular is the fact that it's extremely vague. Here, I'll pull up the actual bill itself. It's extremely long and convoluted. Hey, let's not get heated with each other now. So this is the bill itself. I will admit I have not read this thing in its entirety. I've glanced at it and looked at little parts here and there, but it is very convoluted. As you can see, it's extremely long. And this is an amendment too. It's actually several amendments, but I'm halfway. Like I said, the primary criticism of this is the fact that it could be for something, and the government's stance on this is that they will not use it for that. That's their defense of it. Because it opens up the possibility. You just have to trust them. Yeah, we were talking about that today. Here, I'll put this up again. Actually, you know what? I can't connect it to the page, so I just got to do that. No, I think Cynthia's got a point there. I mean, we talked about this on the phone. Was it yesterday or was it today? I can't remember. Cynthia says, I think if they start arresting Canadians for speaking their political opinions, Canadians will have a big problem with it, and yet there will be nothing to be done about it, especially in conjunction with the prohibitions that are in place. Yes, trust them. Yeah, Dad's probably got several in front of him right now, or has had some. Oh, he's with other people now. He's not alone. So, yeah, I agree with you on that, Cynthia. By the time it's passed, I don't think there's anything we'll be able to do about it, except for what we're doing, which is just continuously talk about it. But then you're at risk of if this is what people think it is, right? I mean, it might not be, but everything kind of points to that, given what's happening elsewhere and the position that they have on that. But yeah, this is not meant to stress people out, but at the same time, it kind of does. I think it's an educational segment to make us realize how important voting actually is, because I feel like people here. Oh, so you guys can see the chat. I don't know why I'm showing you guys the chat. Dad says no, it's because Canada has turned into a effing joke, and the margaritas, so it's both. But yeah, the important thing I think is the importance of voting. We're not voting on these bills, but we're voting the people in who vote for these bills and create these bills. And I agree with you as well that, and we talked about this, the vast majority of people who end up in Parliament are people who have some sort of, bout of narcissism or psychopathy. I think Dad's getting censored. I think YouTube has censoring. Even though I turned censoring off, here, I'll show them up. Well, YouTube's been censoring for years. That's been happening for years and years. Even though I turned this, I clicked not for children on here, so it shouldn't be censoring language or anything, but I also don't want people fighting on here. I mean, if we ever actually get followers, it's inevitable, but don't want family fighting, that's for sure. Just informing, just sharing. But yeah, I can't remember what I was talking about. I got distracted. But you said that we're not voting on these bills. Correct. We're not voting on these bills, and it's a good thing we're not, because the vast majority of people wouldn't be able to comprehend them, and the vast majority of people don't have time. What should be happening is we need to vote people in who don't create bills like this. I see. That's why I like the conservative bills, even if I don't agree with what the bill is about. And I'm not talking about all conservative bills, just the ones that were defeated. That's why I'm sharing. I have them on the screen, you guys. You can see them on the screen. I don't know if my video is going to get censored because of it, but with the conservative bills that we talked about, they were very short and concise, and that's how they should be, in my opinion. That way people could access them and not feel overwhelmed when they're looking into them, or not need a third party who is privy to the legal language contained therein, because otherwise it would be that is what it is now. It's just who has the time to go through 152 pages to read about cybersecurity, in which there's several points that relate to security concerns for civilians against the government. So yeah, people need to pay more attention to who they're voting for. They need to look at who they're voting for. We can't spend all the time throughout the year paying attention to what's going on in Parliament. I'm having an extremely hard time following everything that's going on, even in the last few days, just because so much is happening, and there's only one of me, and I work a full-time job. Well, you can speak your mind now. I think it might be the swearing. Here, try this, Dad. You guys try this. Dad, throw in a swear word. You guys tell me if the swear word is the thing that's getting censored, just for experiment's sake. Are they censoring everything that you're saying? Because I can only see the chat that I have, unless I'm actually... I'm going to quickly go on, add to my stream count. Critical Chris. Got the live video. Let's see what's being censored. Oh, none of your stuff is showing up. Oh, no, they are. Okay. Okay, maybe it's just oh, you know what it probably is, Dad? You're probably not being censored because of anything you're saying. It's probably something to do with the fact that you're in Mexico. I'd be willing to bet that's what it is. We'll find out when you get back, if you're still watching when you get back. All right. That was a good chat. Should we move on to the next segment? we're done with the bills. We're on to another fun one. Y'all ready to move on? Yeah, it's not censoring. Or cache. I'm assuming this is Critical Chris Fan 2.0 is cache, which means that Critical Chris Fan 1.0 is probably Joe. I've uncovered the truth. Yeah, let's move on to the next segment. Some of you probably already know about this next segment because it's been reported on a lot today. And it concerns an MP by the name of Michael Ma. One's in the chat if you know what I'm about to talk about. Oh, okay, so we don't know who number one is. Okay. Michael Ma, Cynthia, no, I didn't think you would. I think the Junos know about it because it's been all over the news and they kind of follow the news. So, Michael Ma is a Liberal MP for Markham Unionville. He used to be a Conservative, but he crossed the floor in December of last year. Yesterday, he faced significant backlash because he questioned a witness during a House of Commons Standing Committee. And during that, he was examining issues related to Chinese electric vehicles, aluminum supply chains, and Canada's enforcement of forced labor import bans in the context of recent Canada-China trade deal. China. Ma joined Carney during his previous Beijing trip. Just a side note on that. So he aggressively questioned expert witness Margaret McCuig Johnston. She's a University of Ottawa senior fellow with the Chinese Strategic Risks Institute. I believe she was previously an MP. I'm going to double check that so I don't have to amend myself later, just in case. So brief delay here while I check this. As I said earlier, I will be doing actual recorded podcast videos too that won't be as they won't have as much pauses and stuff. For me, this is the fun one because I get to engage with you guys while I do this. My internet is I think my computer is actually having a hard time, which is crazy because I have a beast of a computer. She served in senior management positions. No, I don't know if she was an MP. Okay, I'll just strike that from the record then. Don't know if she was an MP. Anyway, so he was questioning her. He repeatedly asked if she had personally witnessed forced labor herself, which the funny thing about that question is he knows she hasn't because she's been sanctioned by China. So if she were to go to China and try and witness these forced labor camps that everyone knows about, Parliament voted on this 5 years ago, and they voted unanimously that China's committing genocide against the Uyghurs, and they're forcing them in forced labor camps. So he knew that she's been sanctioned. He knew that she can't go in there. And not only her, but no one can go into these forced labor camps. It's not like China's just letting in journalists and being like, hey, come look at what we're doing. We're partaking in forced labor camps, and we're, putting an entire group of people based on their religion and ethnicity and putting them to work for free. That's not happening. So it was a ridiculous line of questioning, but he did so extremely aggressively. He suggested that her testimony amounted to hearsay when she was talking about the forced labor camps, and pressed for direct eyewitness confirmation rather than relying on reports from organizations like Human Rights Watch. Like I said, this is pretty much unanimously agreed upon across the Western world that China's doing this. It's one of the reasons why free trade doesn't work currently, because we can't compete with countries that are manufacturing goods with the use of forced labor. There's many critics of this this exchange, including conservative and NDP MPs. So two people from opposite sides of the political spectrum are both incensed by what happened yesterday. They viewed this as a downplaying well-documented allegations of forced labor in China's Xinjiang region, where Uyghur and other Muslim minorities have faced mass detentions, forced labor transfers, and other abuses. So that's just further insight into what was happening. Okay. There's some videos we're going to watch on this. Some of them are quite long, but like I said, this is a pretty hot topic because of what happened with Michael Ma. Like I said, he crossed the floor from... They viewed this as atrocious as they purchased their next Temu order. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about that. So there's something interesting here when it comes to this. So most Western nations created policy around trade with China where they investigate what's being imported, and if they determine that the use of forced labor was used in the manufacturing of the items that are being imported, they're supposed to deny the import and send it back. That way they're not getting the trade. And I'm going to show you some data on that in a couple minutes. But I want to show you these videos first. They cover the incident, and these are typically liberal news sources that are covering this incident. So there's a lot of people that are pretty pissed about this because Ma has a history of questionable action and questionable ties to the CCP in China. There was a investigation done, I can't remember how long ago, where it was reported that, I think it was by CSIS, which is the Canadian intelligence agency, that determined that at least 11 sitting MPs had direct ties to the CCP and had partaken in election interference in Canada. Now, this isn't something like the whole the controversy around Trump in 2020 election. This is something that was done internally with the CSIS, and it wasn't widely reported on, but it was reported on enough. So not so much a conspiracy as something that no one knows anything about because no one has access to the documents that pertain to who was actually involved, because they won't release who was involved. But there is a lot of speculation. Ma wasn't a part of Parliament when this happened, but it seems pretty clear that he has a lot of ties. And I plan on doing a video in the future that showcase those ties. And I'm going to try and use as many reliable sources as I can. So he also crossed the floor from conservatives to liberals, which seems to be a pretty agreed upon bad faith move from everyone except for the liberals. But anyways, let's tune into this video here.
One of the Liberal Party's newest MPs is facing backlash over an exchange he had today at committee. Michael Ma was questioning a witness who is against Canada accepting Chinese electric vehicles. That witness raised human rights violations against Uyghurs in China, and Ma questioned the evidence of that claim.
To come after Canada. So there's a whole whack of problems that have been opened with this.
He did not know who.
The CBC's Olivia
Sorry, guys.
The evidence of that claim.
You claim about forced labor in Shenzhen. Have you witnessed this yourself? Have you been there ever?
I've been to China many times.
Have you witnessed
since
forced labor in
1979?
Shenzhen?
No.
Have you witnessed just a short answer. Have you witnessed forced labor in Shenzhen? Yes or no? So did you get that
I
from
work closely
hearsay?
with Human Rights Watch, where researchers did witness it.
So thank you.
Ma's office sent a statement to defend his action, saying Michael used a quick burst of yes or no questions to move away from the anti-China EV witness and then to give the floor to the pro-China EV witness. That was the strategy on paper. The CBC's Olivia Stefanovich caught up with Michael Ma literally on Parliament Hill after that statement was issued.
This is the CBC doing this.
In China. Do you believe there's forced labor in China? You do? Is that a yes, Mr. Ma?
Sorry, I'm late for a meeting.
Yes, but can you please explain your comments at the Industry Committee?
I have no comment at this time.
The Conservatives are making it seem like you don't care about forced labor in China or you don't believe in it. What do you think of that?
Well, they like to exaggerate always.
Was it really an exaggeration? Do you believe there is forced labor in China?
I believe there are forced laborers all over the world.
What about China specifically?
Well, all over the world.
But China...
Notice that he refuses to answer that question. It's a pretty straightforward question that everybody would say yes to. And he's not answering that question.
Specifically.
Sorry, I need to run.
And that's the first topic for our reporter roundtable. Bob Fife is the Ottawa bureau chief for the Globe and Mail. Mia Rabson is deputy parliamentary bureau.
Remember that Fife is historically a liberal commentator. He leans highly left, so it's unorthodox for him to be reporting in this way, which kind of shows the severity of what's going on.
Chief at the Canadian Press, and J.D. Bellavance is the parliamentary bureau chief for La Presse. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Bob, because I know you've written a lot about China. You followed this issue. You know what's going on in Xinjiang. You know what the past parliaments have said about possible genocide in that part of China. Seems like Mr. Ma sort of downplaying potentially that sort of issue, forced labor in that part of the world. What do you make of that exchange?
Well, first of all, the witness who, is Margaret McCraig Johnson, who is actually a former senior civil servant. She's highly respected in this town, and the question, and when she knows what she's talking about, and she's read up on Human Rights Watch, for example, has talked about aluminum that is used in EVs and other products from China that are used from forced labor. We have laws in this country against forced labor. This man seemed to be parroting the line of the Chinese government, and we're waiting now for a clarification, which will be with the Prime Minister's office's gun to his head, and I'm assuming it's going to be, well, we do, you know, I didn't mean the way it came across, and I suspect we will not be hearing very much from Michael Ma until the next election campaign, but it's not a joking matter either. Forced labor, particularly amongst Uyghurs, has been well documented. The G7 countries have acknowledged it, and for a sitting member of parliament to somehow suggest that this is not serious and that the witness is making this up, frankly, is appalling.
Yeah, I mean, JD, there was this report by the Subcommittee on International Human Rights in the last parliament. They found Uyghurs were forced to perform slave labor. They were in camps. Uyghurs were psychologically, physically, and sexually abused and subjected to forced assimilation, indoctrination into the dominant Chinese culture, forced sterilization of Uyghur women and girls, pushed to have abortions. I mean, this is our own parliament. And then there was, of course, a motion in the last parliament too, or maybe the parliament before, I'm losing track, but recently enough, where they condemned potential genocide in China. I mean, this has been litigated. Unanimously voted. This was well litigated, right? We have been studying this issue in Xinjiang for a long time. And now we hear Michael Ma, after, 6 weeks post a trip with the Prime Minister to China on that EV deal, now saying to this witness, are you sure? Are you sure there's forced labor in that part of the world?
What you just read, I think it would be good reading for Mr. Ma over the next few weeks. He's got some catching up to do. He's a new MP. He first elected under the Conservative banner, now a Liberal MP, and now this kind of comments, I mean, will not go well with the Prime Minister's office, and we're all expecting that statement, and I'm sure that he will try, as we say in French, try to put back the toothpaste in the tube.
Yes.
But when it try that, it's not a very safe operation. You mess up a bit, and there will be a little mess left after even that statement. And I suspect that Mr. Carney will be cautious when he travels again, or whenever he goes abroad or in Canada, traveling with new rookies MPs from other camps, because they got to know each other a little bit more before he parades them like a trophy, like he did in China, bringing him along. So I don't think that's going to come again. Although, while Mr. Carney was in Nova Scotia today, in Halifax, he took the time to go and visit Chris d'Entremont's riding, just to show that he's happy that he's the new Liberal MP from that riding. But clearly, there is some patching up to do.
Mia?
I think the problem for the government on this is that the Prime Minister and the government are already being accused of turning a blind eye to some of the concerns in human rights and accusations for the Chinese government in order to expand the economic ties and bring in potentially electric vehicles. To have one of your own MPs trying to shut down a witness who is raising concerns that potentially those electric vehicles are made with the slave labor that has been outed in so many reports. I think that's a big problem for the government. It's already something they've struggled to defend. They haven't really defended it well, and now they have an MP who's trying to sort of, well, you know, do you really have? You haven't seen it with your own eyes. Well, you know, I guess we haven't. It doesn't really happen. Like it's a big problem for them. I think it's a question that the Prime Minister is going to get the first time he stands in front of a mic.
And we've heard that the budget cuts have led to either layoffs or movement of people who are responsible for forced labor in the global affairs and economic social development department have either been laid off or moved to other portfolios. We have very strong forced labor laws in this country, but if you don't have anybody to enforce it, and this has all happened under Mark Carney's watch, and people are saying, look, he seems to be more interested, and it's important that we diversify our trade, and it's important that we focus on the economy, but we also have to stand up for human rights. And when you have an MP like that dismissing what is well acknowledged that China does this, raises more questions about is the Prime Minister really serious about human rights in this country?
Yeah.
We also could run into problems with the Americans on this because they have demands that you can prove that there is no forced labor used. And so now they've opened up a whole new can of worms with the Americans who are looking for any opportunity to come after Canada. So there's a whole whack of problems that have been opened with this.
JD, as Bob mentioned, there's another statement coming, but we got this kind of cryptic statement from his office earlier just saying it's a common CPC tactic of asking very short yes or no questions to a witness in order to control the flow of dialogue. Like, I think they were thinking that we were maybe taking issue or asking questions about his short questions, but it really wasn't about it wasn't about how short the questions were. It was about the questions that he was asking and sort of, you know, downplaying the possibility of forced labor in this part of the world. I mean, this just shows you this is maybe a guy who's not used to the heat, right? He's not used to the spotlight. He was.
All right, so that's that video. Like I said, there's been a lot of backlash on this. Yeah, since it's the Uyghurs in China. This has been something that's been ongoing for over a decade now. It's something that's been known about for over a decade. I plan on doing, like I said, on doing a deeper video about this that won't be a live stream. It'll be more of an investigative report, specifically on not just this incident, but Canadian ties to the CCP and our government, because it's no longer just a conspiracy theory as was thought of, 2-3 years ago. This is something that's been reported on by our own intelligence agencies, political opposition, watchdogs, things like that, things that are actually reputable. So the problem is we don't have any information on it because our intelligence agencies won't release that information. And the people who do have information that are in Parliament aren't allowed to talk about it. So, yeah, we're kind of left in the dark on it. The thing that I wanted to note before, so I was telling you about how policy was created in both Canada, the US, and other countries on turning back Chinese imports that turned out to be, turned out to contain manufactured items that were made under forced labor. It's very interesting because there's a comparative number here in how many times this has been applied in both the US and Canada. So let's just take a look here. So this is the Homeland Security page. iPhones. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure Samsung too, no? Or do they make their stuff in Japan? Anyway, so if you look here, since implementation of the rebuttal presumption in June 2022, so this is basically talking about them investigating and turning back shipments from China, CBP has examined more than 16,700 shipments. denying more than 10,000 shipments covering a broad range of products from apparel, automotive parts, chemicals, electronics, flooring, and solar panels. Right? And then if you jump to, nope, not doing that. Canada's denial. Canada border officials have intercepted more than 50 shipments of material they suspect were made with forced labor. Now, mind you, this was as of 2024, so it's not as long of a period. However, if you're comparing those numbers, 50 to 10,000 turned back, that highlights the ineffectiveness of that policy in Canada in comparison to how U.S. is handling that situation. Paul says, might be 51 now. Yeah. Given how efficient our government is, yeah, it might be 51 now. No, yeah, I know. Like I said, I plan on doing, I admitted that this is old and I don't have all the information. They might have more info here. I had to cut this one off because I jumped into the chat early in the middle of researching this because I heard about the Toronto thing. So I didn't get to dive in as deep as I wanted to about this one. So I will be doing a more deeper analysis on this in the future, Cynthia. So that is a good question. We need to see this compared to total shipments to be fair, but also we need to see this in conjunction with what percentage of Canadian trade, which I think is like 3% of our trade is with China, whereas the U.S., I don't know what percentage of their trade is with China. So you have to include that as well and compare it to the totality of that. So it's not a black and white as these two articles make it out to be. However, I think 50 ships, it should be an indictment. Not for long, what? Here, I'll just throw on the chat thing here. We'll take a pause and we'll throw on the chat. Not for long, what there, Dad? Back down in most cases. Do you want me to send you the link here? Where are you seeing this? Under the title. Oh. It sounds like what they're saying is that the border allowed them to come through regardless. So they seized the 50 ships, but they had to back down on doing anything about the seizing of those 50 ships. So it doesn't even seem like they denied them. Because it says they've intercepted 50 ships, more than 50 shipments of materials. But it doesn't say anywhere that they denied any of them. Whereas if you look at the U.S. report, they seized 16,000 ships and denied 10,000. So out of the 16,000 seized, they denied 10,000, whereas this says they seized 50 ships. Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, this is just a report on National Post, so it might be that this isn't telling the whole picture. Like I said, I want to do more research. From what I've read, Canada has done almost nothing, which kind of ties into the conspiracy. I'm holding quotes up. The conspiracy that Canada has some pretty heinous ties to the CCP. The fact that we're not doing anything with our trade when it comes to them. I mean, another thing that could be looked at is the amount of coal that we send to China every year. That's something I plan on doing a report on one day soon too. When you take a look at the fact that we have some of the heaviest climate change policies on the planet, the most regulatory climate change policies on the planet that affect our economy greatly, considering what our economy relies on, oil, and we simultaneously ship billions of dollars worth of coal to China annually so that we can feed their power plants and so they can pollute the world at a higher rate than the rest of the world combined. So, very intriguing. I will be doing a report on that as well in the future. Let's jump to another video. turn off the chat. You guys can continue chatting amongst yourselves.
Question then is, you claim about forced labor
this one I wanted to get
Human Rights
halfway
Watch,
through.
Knesset.
January 2021, Canada announced new measures to help address the risk of being complicit in human rights abuses in Xi Jinping China, specifically mentioned the Uyghurs. Now, personally, I find it alarming and offensive that a Canadian member of Parliament will use his time not to protect Canadians, but to defend a foreign country that has been well documented by Human Rights Watch and even our own government for human rights abuses, and also to attack the credibility of one of the witnesses sitting here before us today.
All right, there's that video. And there's a CTV video that I was going to play, but it's 7 minutes long. I mean, if you guys want me to play it, let me know. I'll play it. Just let me know if you want me to play it. If not, I can just put it in the description and you guys can watch it another time. I mean, I find this is a very interesting topic. Very interesting. But if you guys are getting bored with this one, I only have one other topic left. I had a bunch of other things I wanted to talk about. Okay. All right. Well, you said to start later. You're the one that said to start at 8 o'clock. I guess I have to start earlier. Or there's just a very small window. I got to make the video shorter. Because I guess I've been doing this for over an hour. Okay, well, I will jump to the next thing. And I will put the link in the description for the other video. This one is an interview with CTV and Margaret, the witness that Michael confronted in the committee. So that's why I found this one interesting. But I'll just put it in the description later on. So the last topic, I'll just run through this one quickly before we hop off here. The last topic is the federal government announces $1.4 billion to support urban Indigenous communities. Today, the Honorable Mandy, and the Honorable you have to, she's MP, so that's the title. Honorable Mandy Goal-Masty, Minister of Indigenous Services, joined the President of the Ontario Federation of Indigenous Friendship Centres, Armand Jourdain Sr., and the CEO of National Association of Friendship Centres, Jennifer Rankin, in Toronto to announce federal investments of nearly $1.4 billion to support urban Indigenous populations, mental health and trauma support programming, and assisted living services on reserve. This funding will ensure Indigenous peoples receive stable, distinction-based, and culturally grounded services that improve health and wellness outcomes. What that means as far as actual funding goes and how that funding is going to actually provide any services, we don't know yet because it was just announced today. But if we go over to the funding board, we'll take a look. I just wanted to take a look at the actual funding for Indigenous this year. This is for the Indigenous Services of Canada. So this isn't total Indigenous funding for the year. This is, safe drug sites. Yeah, essentially. This is just for Indigenous Services Canada. So there's other Indigenous departments in Canada that get funded as well. But this is just that one. So they're getting $7 billion for health, $7 billion for children and families, $3.6 billion for education, $5.1 billion for infrastructure and environments, economic development, $326 million, $514 million for governance, and a total of $23 billion, $23.7 billion being allocated to the Indigenous Services of Canada. So that $1.4 billion that was mentioned in the report today, that comes out of this fund somewhere. It's probably a mix of all of these. But that is $23 billion out of a total of $502 billion that came out of the budget for the Liberal government. So they're pretty happy because they say that they have saved somehow over $400 million out of that $23 billion, which they're saying that they've decreased the amount of expenditures by reducing it by $400 million. So you have it, like I said here, Indigenous services, 23.9 billion, 10.4 billion. Oh no, sorry, 11. Where is it? Right here. The Department of Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs, 11.8 billion. So, given that Indigenous, there's only 1 million Indigenous people in Canada. That's a large proportion of funding going their way. We'll play this video real quick and then we'll hop off. We're not going to play the whole thing.
That's why I'm proud today to announce nearly $1.4 billion in investment to strengthen urban programming, Indigenous-led health, wellness, and community sports. Yeah, you can clap for that. That is great news.
That's great news, guys. Great news.
I want to acknowledge something that many of you here know and understand, that urban friendship centers are the heart of urban Indigenous life. They are a life support that we need, that we acknowledge as critical work.
All right, that's good for that. That's pretty much all I have for that. There's not too much about it. I just wanted to share. Yeah, I just wanted to share the announcement because it was made. Was it yesterday or is it today? I think it was made today. Yeah. So yeah, it was made today. It was relevant and it's new and it involves our funds being allocated. So I'm just intrigued to see where that's going to and what that's going to actually be spent on. Another thing that I plan on reporting on in the future when I have more time is where that funding is going and how it's spent. I'm going to be taking a deep dive into our yearly economic reports and seeing where this money is actually going. Yeah. While roads are generally a municipal thing, so actually, although the federal government does contribute to that to some extent, depending on the municipality and the province in some ways. But yeah, there's a lot of other things that it could be going towards as well. I will be doing a report and a whole series on that, I think, actually, on Indigenous funding. Seeing as how I'm a beneficiary of Indigenous funding to some degree, although I think not to the same extent as true First Nations, as they say. Yeah, I want to know where that money's going, how it's allocated, and where the waste is, because you can guarantee that there's waste, being that I work for a government-funded program. Anyways, those are all the topics for today. And like I said, I had to jump on early, so I didn't get to finish everything, and I didn't get to cover everything I wanted to cover, but yeah, that's all the stuff. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the chat. All three of you, I believe. Seems my audience is dipping, so that's not good. Hopefully it can rebound and grow over time. On that note, I would really appreciate any sort of constructive criticism. Come back later and comment. Comment on the actual video itself once it's posted. And I would love some constructive criticism, because I would like to reach out to more than 3 people a night. So thank you very much, guys, for taking the time out to join me today. I know you'd much rather be drinking margaritas and watching movies and stuff like that, but I appreciate the support. All right, ladies and gentlemen.